I think this morning we will start. I hope you have it with the sadhana, a praise for the Buddha. And and then we'll do the opening of the Gathon opening of the sutra. And then when we close today, we will close with our sadhana to our teacher, Untitled Buddha. So just thinking about this praise to the Buddha that we're gonna sing, because I know the words of it, fills me with such delight. It's almost like how one is, you know, how when you have a new relationship, maybe not the old ones so much, they just like settle in, you know, but when the new ones, there's some kind of excitement that's there, like when your mind goes to them, there's like a little faster heartbeat, knowing that pretty soon you're going to be in the presence of your lover, and you start remembering what that's like. All the other things we have to deal with in life, you know, on a daily basis, but just that little pocket, that little piece, that little place where one gets to be with that one that they love so much. And even thoughts of it can lift you and help you get over whatever it is you got to do right now. And so when I think about the Dharma and our teachers who bring us this Dharma, and the patriarchs and the matriarchs that realize this Dharma, and the fact that even right now we are realizing the same Dharma, that we can be lifted into these same spaces, these same places. It's so it arouses so much gratitude, but not only gratitude, but faith in the path. You got to walk it out, though. Can't just read about it. And it gives us a capacity to hold the present moment, regardless of what might be happening in the moment. We know that we are fully able, more than able, to accomplish what concerns us today. Precious treasury of compassion. Bestower of supreme inner peace. You who love all beings without exception. You are the source of happiness and goodness. And you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar. And your mind is refuge. Living beings, with folded hands I turn supreme, unchanging friend, I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet, with an unceasing banquet of delight through your compassionate intention. Your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you. May all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled. And may holy Dharma flourish forevermore. Oh boy. So we talk, I do want that God to but I just want us to take it for a minute in this space. Even if you're not fully in it right now, you have to know that you're in the vicinity of it. It's something you get lifted into, catapulted into, just by our surrender to what is true. It takes effort to surrender, to lay down our own thinking, to submit ourselves to and commit to pondering the views of others. And we feel happy when our views are aligned and challenged, and disconcerted when our views are different. And that's why one of the first things that we can do to begin to receive the fruit, the benefit of engaging with the Dharma is to suspend just for a little while our own views and contemplate the views of our wise teachers. Now, if one preaches to others and they themselves cannot live out what they preach, they become, that is, the preacher becomes a castaway. But to the wise hearer, he becomes a victor. Therefore, you don't have to pay so much attention to the one by whom truth comes. Rather, contemplate and hear the truth itself. And in taking it up, you will find your freedom. So let us not be too concerned about others, whether they do good or not good. But let us see to it that we ourselves fully walk in our own most holy faith. And you will find that this is something to be experienced, even though we talk about it, but not just talk, not spouting vain and empty goods, but we can actually enter into this in a living way. And we can know something for ourselves, and we also receive the fruit, the verification, the attainment of that which we speak of. And the more of us who have the courage to do this, the more the Dharma will remain in the world. The true Buddha Dharma leaves when the counterfeit arrives. An unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see, to listen to remember, and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. So I had 3 different Dharma talks for today. And I'm not sure, and I like the folks who hung out in the Buddhist days. That's because I came out of the Pentecostal church. Excuse me. And it was characterized by 2 things. It's longevity and it's fire. So if it was all night, it was all right. And once you came in, we locked the doors. So if if you got tired of it, because services would run 4 or 6 hours, if you got tired, you just went in the back and laid down, went to sleep, but you couldn't leave. And so our doors have no locks. So leave when you need to leave. But I do like giving the Dharma and receiving the Dharma. To me is like a fire that's and you can't leave, or an offering, and you can't leave until it's consumed. So you start it, you stoke it, and after a while you get a nice blaze, and you enjoy the warmth of it and the beauty of it. And then you sit until it's completely burned out, until there's nothing but embers left. And then you just imbibe the atmosphere that comes after the fire has gone. It's not like, oh, it's over, and we scatter, but you sit and you linger with what just happened. It's all of that. And so when we're used to the Dharma being, like, I don't know, a talk, I don't know, a lesson, And it has a certain carved out time. It's not like getting away for a breaking apart, being with your lover. And until the Dharma gets to be like that, you'll have what you haven't realized you were having, and that is a relationship, an intimate relationship with a stranger. So I say this so that you can understand something about, I never understood what Kriyas were until I started having them. And Kriya it's something like spontaneous body movements. But it's like a shock to your system, but it's more than a shock. It breaks up stagnant energy that gets locked in the system, in the body. And it not only breaks it up, but it breaks it up through the free-flowing energy that we call life. Being neither internal nor external. I'm trying to use words to describe something now that's like really you can't describe it, but you just have to experience it. But it's so that one finds that they're neither an interior phenomenon like a person or being possessing a body, and neither an exterior phenomenon, not this body and not this person. It's like neither one of those things. But from time to time, we lean to one thing or the other in a way to explain our presence, to explain things in a way that an insufficient mind can understand based on an imperfect view. So one time Jesus was contemplating, and a guy who was blind came up to him and asked to receive his sight because he was perfected in the cities and he had powers of healing. I know what I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about this, but maybe I'll talk about this and I'll get a little bit to that. And so Jesus spit into the earth and made a paste and put it on his eyes. He said, now go wash in the river and come back. So he went and washed and he came back. And Jesus said, what do you see? He said, I see men like trees walking trees. And Jesus, that's not quite good enough vision. And he did it again. And then he sent him back and he came back. And he could see men as ministering. Now go and see that you don't tell anybody. And of course, Jesus was always saying that, but he's always knowing that you're going to go and tell somebody. It wasn't a matter of it being kept a secret. I mean, how could you keep something so magnificent a secret? Wouldn't you run everywhere and say, I know a man who gives sight to the blind? Of course we will. Now, somebody might hear that story and say, yeah, but he didn't do what Jesus said do. But it helps you understand the great joy in the healing possibility that became a reality in his life. And he just had to tell somebody. Now, some could say, oh, well, I don't believe it. You know, like he obviously wasn't really blind before. And they could walk away poo-pooing that. But others who knew him knew that this was real. And some went and told people who didn't know this man, but because they knew the one who was carrying the story, they had faith and they went to see and hear this man. And this is how the Dharma spreads, not by reading something in a book, memorizing it real well, not by no, I want to use it in a different word, but I don't know if that's a word. Not by, it is a word, not by scholarship. That's the 71 mind. Not by scholarship, you know, but by that spark of life that comes across in that moment based on a person's real experience. That's what I mean. Buddha didn't have a lot of good things to say about the scholars. Of course, we're in a very scholarly and intellectual time. It's funny that the great, the age of enlightenment brought forth so much brightness, so much beauty, so much art, so much music, so much. The things that when they touch us, move us. And this is the dulling of that. We've now like just digested and sifted and packed it down into so much intellectual conversation. So while we're thinking we're in the age of such brightness, actually we're moving towards an age of such stuff. And that wasn't the way this Dharma talk was supposed to go. We just got to change of direction. Okay. I wasn't going to go this way because this was more the intellectual way. Feeling something different, but I see I need to start with this. So the Buddha talks about the 37 requisites of enlightenment, right? And in many of these, he talks about us developing our mind in such a way, you know, that we can attain liberation. For instance, in the Digha Nikaya, one of the collection of the Buddha's long discourses, he says, monks, I say to you that these teachings of which I have direct knowledge and which I have made known to you, these you should thoroughly learn. But not just learn them, you must cultivate them. You must develop them. And you must frequently practice them. And it's only in this way that a life of purity, a real life, may be established and endure. Why? For the welfare and the happiness of the multitude. Oh, did he say so that I'll be happy? Did he? No. He said it's for the welfare and the happiness of the multitude. Out of compassion for myself? No, but out of compassion for, out of compassion for the world, for the benefit, the well-being, and the happiness of all beings, all beings. He didn't say for the wellness, for the benefit, the well-being, and happiness of men, meaning humankind, but he said gods and men. Uh-oh. Boy, God's into the thing now. It was doing all right at first. It was doing all right when he was talking about me. Then it was like still doing kind of okay when he was talking about, the world, others, for the happiness of others. Okay, maybe that's a stretch, but I can kind of get to that. If I consider, so I have to do some practices of considering oneself equal with others. Then we have to go even further, consider others, over, above and beyond oneself. That's pushing the envelope. But, because we start so far away from the middle, like we're into such a self-clinging space that we have to like stretch the rubber band over here to arrive at the center, So he says, okay, because we're selfish, we will go to doing this for the sake of others, and then we'll arrive at others and self, and we'll all be equal. So this is good. But now he's talking about something else. And I don't know what I think about that. I thought he was okay, this part's good. But that right there, let's just not, that doesn't go with our thinking, our culture. Something happened in my life and I've rejected something. I don't want to revisit that. I'm done with that. All of this starts to come up. But if the rejection wasn't based on a direct experience, and when I say direct experience with that which the sages spoke of, not which was that which ordinary human beings spoke of and expressed in their ways what it meant to them, therefore it has to mean that to you. But if we could hold it apart from the ones who don't know and just really reflect on and try to hold and gather our information, ergo our ultimate experience from the ones who do know, then maybe we would get to know what is true and not just miss something offhand and miss the whole thing and die happily in our ignorance. And this is what a lot of us have decided. Okay, so thank you. That was what that was for. And so, yeah. And so that's what I want to talk about, an entirely different way of being in the world. When one's mind opens to a place upon where their heart can be open, and then we start to move into a magnanimous, vast, endless, and that's what emptiness means, vast and endless. It doesn't mean nothing. It means a space so spacious that everything can be contained in it. When one has that kind of mind, That's the awakened mind. And that's the mind that we should belong in. No more feeding the illusion of a solid, separate me. But how are we going to be guided? Bodhisattvas guiding our way so that we could see things differently. So he told us to recollect the Buddha. And I always put an S on it because he said he wasn't the only one. He was the one at that time. But he was from a family line of Buddhists. And he said that his purpose, if he was successful, and then at the end of his life, he said he was successful in producing offspring. I can't say there has to be a change. I can't birth ordinary men into the family of Buddha. There has to be a change in lineage. So they get adopted into a different line, no longer ordinary human beings. It says that when a noble disciple contemplates upon the enlightened one and the holy being, at that time, his mind is not enwrapped in greed or in hatred, nor in delusion. At such a time, his mind is rightly directed, and with a rightly directed mind, the disciple gains enthusiasm for the goal, enthusiasm for the Dharma, enthusiasm that gains the delight that's derived from the Dharma. In him, thus delighted, joy arises, and one who is joyful, body and mind become calm, calmed in body and mind. He feels at ease, and the mind finds concentration. Now, I don't know about you, but just now when I was preparing, turning my mind away, even from you, who I love, one day the Buddha Master, our Buddha Master, said in a Dharma talk, who am I loyal to? Is it to all of you? You know, just in case we were under false impression, like thinking, yeah, you know, he's loyal to us. He said, no, it's not that I'm loyal to all, but I'm loyal to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions. I'm loyal to the Dharma. It's only in being loyal to them that there is loyalty. So striving for this higher goal requires a certain kind of courage. It requires not being taken away by the residue of the Dharma that we can see in ordinary life, the trinkets like the robes, The trinkets like being able to memorize Pali terms or even speaking Pali terms to show how much you know, instead of just speaking in English to what that term means to you. It means not being so proud of our scholarship when we have not even entered into those truths and apprehended them directly. It means skipping to the back of the book so you can tell others how the story ends, instead of spending the time knowing where you are and fully embracing that moment and learning the lessons that need to be mastered at that level to qualify to take the next step. But we're so busy comparing ourselves to each other and wanting to sit at the head of the class so that we can be somebody to others, because we're so concerned. We're so concerned. We're so concerned about how we appear. Our whole ego system is based on that. That's, my friend, a worldly system that we have to abandon. To even think about it is scary. But unless we do, we will live and die. And we will talk the talk of the sage, but we will not enter into the land. So I'm asking you today to truly take the journey and to embark upon it. One has to lay down their ego. There's a song we used to sing. I know we don't have it. And maybe because we sang so bad, then it's a good thing we can't find it. It was a song that said, lay it all down, lay it down, lay it down, lay it all down. Can you lay it down? And it talked about all the things we hold as ours. All of, not just our conceits, our prideful things, but the things that we're ashamed of as well. And not just our insufficiencies, but our excesses as well. I mean, you know, it leaves no place for, what was he talking about? He's talking about, you know, laying down our clinging to our story, because we all have a story, you know, but always wanting like to tell our story, you know, because that's a way that we actually, it's a kind of conceit. Always having to tell our story. It's a kind of conceit. And I know I tell you all lots of stories, but I tell you the story to my stories to be a mirror to you. This is like stories of life. We all got one. So, you know, we don't really have to bog people down with our stories, because they're just a story. It's tied to an incorrect view of reality. in its ultimate expression. So that's a story I craft about who I am and what I am. But on the other end, the things that we have are our story. We make them our story because they speak to how we have achieved, how successful we appear to be. The things that we have giving us a sense of purpose. And I'm not talking about enjoying what you have. I'm saying enjoy what you have. But only make that half the story. Enjoying what you have is not the same thing as things having you. Here's my phone. Thank you. I hope I can find this right quick. This morning, I read something in the news. If I can find it really quickly. I don't know. I got a smartphone. It's smarter than me because I don't know how to I can't find it quickly, then I won't. But just give me 1 second because it's said here excellently. Okay, I can't find it. The news now, it just keeps giving you updates. I think if you open and read something, then it gives you more stories like that, So that's how we're being controlled, only being fed partial information that keeps feeding what they consider is our neurosis, right? That's how this whole thing works. But it was about a guy who was the finance minister, I couldn't find it, finance minister of Afghanistan, who controlled billions of dollars. With the fall of that, he was brought from Afghanistan to the United States, and now he's an Uber driver. And so it was telling his story about, he's checking his phone to see, there's a bonus if you can do 95 runs in a certain period of time. I don't know whether it was a day or a week, but then you get a bonus of $95. And he was calculating his runs, working for that bonus. So he gets whatever Uber driver gets. And he's racing to try to win that $95 bonus. This man who was just some months ago the Minister of Finance for a country managing billions of dollars, reduced to an Uber driver, breaking his neck for a $95 bonus. And so the news reporter asked him, how did he feel about that? He said, grateful. Did I feel grateful? And I wondered to myself, could I say the same? If my whole world had upended, if I was ejected out of my country, stripped of my title, my whatever prestige that brings with it, whatever, just the exercising of a competency. You know what I mean? A true competency that one has. You found I told the story now, though. Thank you. He said, I feel grateful. I hope you all search for that and read it, because this story can make you ask yourself some questions. I mean, really. And I said, he doesn't even have the Dharma. I said, oh my goodness, all that I had cultivated myself enough that I can encounter this guy and share the Dharma with him. What a powerhouse we could bring into not the family of Buddhism as a label and as a sect, but that we could bring into the family of goodness, who would have a capacity and a capability. It'd be like bringing a strong man into the family. Because what made him so great was not that he was the minister of finance and he could handle billions of dollars, but that he was that and could be grateful for what he has right now. That's his power. That's his strength. And if he could use that to transform the minds of men, what a wonderful world this could be. So I have to give a talk in a couple of months around engaged Buddhism. Because that's how I'm known from 20 years ago. I was just doing what felt good to me. And some people out there crafted the term engaged Buddhism. I wasn't trying to be engaged. I was just engaging because I love. Just doing what I do. Actually, I could consider it like more of a selfishness, you know, because doing it made me feel fulfilled. Yes, I was doing it for them, but I felt fulfilled. I felt connected to them in their suffering and in their sorrow. But from the good side, right? Not as one suffering and in sorrow, but for the one who could, in part, succor their suffering and sorrow. That's not the same thing. When you're practicing the Psalm, you'll realize it. When you start practicing the supreme and unsurpassable Mahamudra of liberation in the third mind essence, where you're not one giving comfort, because that's what we think about when we think of the Bodhisattva. We're thinking of one coming and comforting, but the Bodhisattva is one who takes on the failings and suffers the karma. Be careful what you say you want. You have to know what it is. And you have to be developed enough to be able to take it on. And you have to know what the end game is. So better to perfect ourselves in our rudimentary places, for real, than to pretend we see and we know, and we don't. Because when the temperature gets turned up, when you lose your country, when you lose your chief position in it, when you lose your money, when you lose your family, when you lose everything, can you still stand in gratitude? Can you still be a light, even in the darkness, showing others the way? It doesn't mean that life gets rosy for you. It doesn't mean that at all. To make your calling and election sure is what I'm saying. Because only then will you taste the sweetness of the joy of giving up yourself. There is a sweetness and a joy in it, but only when it's done for the right reason. And it's not a marathon. It's not a see who gets, to the door first. It's not a see who hops to the front of the line. I was playing a little joke with Joe today because, I'm you all say I'm habitually late. I say I'm just in the moment. Because I don't really have a great respect for time, just in the moment with what's happening. And I tell you, it is truly a kind of freedom. Panyadeep is enjoying it right now because he's always been a very, very disciplined person, extremely disciplined. And now he cannot be. So this morning he said, I think I'll stay in bed today. I don't feel like trying to get up takes about 2 hours, to unfreeze his joints and so forth and move them. And sometimes, it hurts to move. So Santi, can you come up right quick and help us get into the top of the bed? Because the body has to just move. One place somebody hold maybe his knees and somebody else's shoulders and move the whole body. And so today was one of those mornings. But even when it's not one of those mornings, it takes about 2 hours to unfreeze different body parts to move them. With Parkinson's, sort of a rigor mortis sets in. And seems like it happened overnight. Just woke up one morning at a different stage, so it's what's so difficult. It's not so gradual. So they say, well, something else is going on. And he's due for an MRI next week. I said, what is that going to do? What is that going to do? I'm not even so sure we're going to take him through all of that. The time to do that was before, when I'm saying something's wrong. And it's more than just, what you're thinking it is, based on what you read about in books. I'm there every day and I'm seeing something that you think you know. And then coming back apologizing a month later saying, we didn't realize it's just so out of the ordinary. That we didn't pay attention to. But too late now, life gone. And so I practice with this. I practice not being, angry about it, because even as professionals, we all make mistakes. And I had to take myself from, thoughts of suing them as the only recompense, so that at least I could afford to have helpers, to help lift him, move him, care for him. to really working on, forgiveness doesn't really come into the picture. It's just acknowledging our insufficiency as human beings, our imperfectness. That's why we're all here. It's not like I have to suffer others, but I am one of those imperfect ones too. And so someone else could come up with a different conclusion, and I might come up with a different one at another time. But I'm saying wherever you are with what you're pondering, stay with that and come to the conclusion until your heart and mind is fully settled. And then you will have finished that test. Now I like the Antioch because we didn't have grades. We just had pass or fail. And it could be as simple as that. Until you know you pass, stay there. When you know you pass, go to the next lesson. You don't have to have grades posted and run up there and compare them with everybody else. Just whatever you're grappling with, stay there. You'll know when you pass. The confusion will no longer be there. The doubt won't be there. The back and forth mind won't be there. The kind of peace that the world can't give you will be there. And there will be joy. So I find myself going from states of anger, doubt, of feelings of insufficiency, to be able to even understand a situation and respond appropriately. This is my personal, test at the moment. But they're all the same. I don't know what yours is. It could be losing your job. It could be your children not loving you, and now you're 80 years old and you're still vying for their affection because you can't let them go. They were your children, but they grew up. So honestly, now you don't have any children. You never owned them to begin with. Whatever it is that's troubling you, fix it, resolve it is what I'm saying. And when you resolve it, a space opens up in you that you can recognize every other being experiences life in this same way. So I can respond to every being. It uproots the notion of having an enemy. And then you can nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight for yourself and for them. And you will know it when you accomplish it. No more faking. No more thinking that you step alone in this world. But there will be a sense of the other being oneself, and one will know how to respond appropriately because you went through it and came out the other end. So take whatever trial you may be going through now, and I'm finishing, whatever trial you may be going on, and let that be your training. And the hack or the shortcut is when a noble disciple contemplates the enlightened ones and the holy beings, at that time, their mind is not enwrapped in greed or hatred or delusion. How easy, how simple that is to just turn our mind to that. But what's happening is that's a vibration, that's an energetic level. And we may be here, but when we turn our mind to that, mind is chief, whatever we think and ponder on becomes the inclination of our mind. So our mind will change and transform, not because we heard the right way to be, the right thing to do, the right thing to say, not because we heard the rights, not because we memorized the rights, but how we internalize the rights is by setting our mind on those who have overcome. And when we do, our vibration gets attracted to the stronger vibration, and we start functioning on that level. Wow, how easy that is. Now that's the hack, guys. I'm glad you have Google and you have cell phones and there's YouTube and all of these things. Go on them. Find some chants. Find some songs that lift you to that vibration. Enter into their brightness and welcome to the land of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. I think that's all I want to say today. I had a lot more, but I think that right there is enough. I prepared a whole lot. I just want to say this. In this upward path, because that's what he called it, the way leading upward. Did you know that? He calls it the way leading up. He says there are some Brahmins who say there are no other worlds, but that has not been known by me. He says, I shall teach you reappearance in accordance with one's aspiration when you possess faith first, virtue second, learning third, generosity fourth, develop wisdom fifth. So he says, I shall teach you reappearance in accordance with your aspirations. Then he mentioned 5 things, but none of those is the end goal. Those are the 5 things that you must take up to land in the end zone. So that's Sutta 120, reappearance by aspirations. Read it sometime. And then there's another sutta in here that talks about the other worlds and how one finds entrance into the other world, whether in the body or out of the body. We can enter into this other world. And on the dissolution, the falling away of the body, remain and abide and go even higher than that. This is not what do you call those things when you do self-development? This is not a self-development course. This is dropping off the illusion of self. And I hope you all learn what the goal is and thereby qualify to enter it. May you be well and happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you, no danger. May you always meet the inevitable difficulties of life in this world. and never take up an appearance in it again.